The day I caught my daughter-in-law Rachel slipping something into my afternoon tea, watching me with cold calculating eyes as I lifted the cup to my lips, I realized she'd been slowly poisoning me for months. What she didn't know was that I'd already sent samples to the lab, and this time I was going to serve her a cup of justice she'd never forget. I'm 70 years old. I thought I'd seen everything life could throw at me. I raised 4 children, buried my husband of 45 years, survived cancer twice, built a small empire from nothing. But nothing prepared me for discovering my own daughter-in-law was trying to kill me. Oof. It was a Tuesday afternoon, around 3 p.m. Just like every other day for 3 years, Rachel lived with us. Her husband was my youngest son, Marcus. They had twin girls, Emma and Sophie. They'd moved in after losing their apartment. I welcomed them with open arms. My house was plenty big enough. 8 bedrooms, sprawling gardens, a 3-car garage. After losing my Harold, I cherished having family around again. The house felt so empty without him. The laughter of children filled the silence he left behind. Rachel had this routine. Every day at 3 p.m. sharp, she'd bring me a cup of chamomile tea. "For your health, Mom Eleanor," she'd say. That sweet smile never left her face. "You need to keep your strength up." I thought it was thoughtful. So caring. Here was this young woman, barely 28, taking time from her busy day, caring for her elderly mother-in-law. I felt blessed to have such a devoted daughter-in-law. The routine never varied. I'd be reading in my sitting room. She'd appear with the tea tray. We'd chat about the children, about Marcus's work at the accounting firm, about her plans for dinner. Normal family conversations. But that Tuesday, everything changed. I was coming back from the garden. I'd been tending to my roses, Harold's favorite flowers. I always spent afternoons there. It made me feel close to him. I'd taken off my muddy shoes at the back door, walking quietly in my stocking feet. "Waheso chidimiarus emana pro towers." I heard Rachel in the kitchen. She didn't know I was there. I could see her through the doorway, watching her prepare my tea with careful precision. She opened the chamomile box, measured out the leaves, poured the hot water. Then she reached into her purse. My blood went cold. I watched her pull out a small glass vial. It had a dropper, clear liquid inside. She squeezed exactly 3 drops into my cup, swirled it gently, then capped the vial, tucked it back into her purse, like she'd done this 1,000 times before. Rebel mi hopper upper. The strange thing was her face. No guilt, no hesitation, no emotion at all. She looked professional, clinical, like she was following a recipe for murder. I backed away silently. My heart hammered so hard I was sure she'd hear it. The floorboards creaked under my feet. I froze, held my breath. But she didn't look up. "Mom Eleanor," she called out cheerfully, "your tea is ready." I had to grip the doorframe, keep from collapsing. My legs felt like jelly, my hands shook. But somehow I found my voice. "Coming, dear," I called back, surprised it sounded normal, steady. When inside, I was screaming, "Hamaskomi Tori." I walked into that kitchen, sat at my usual spot, the same chair I'd used for 40 years, where Harold and I shared our morning coffee, where I'd helped my children with homework. Now it might be where my daughter-in-law killed me. Rachel placed the cup in front of me, her usual loving smile, perfect white teeth, bright blue eyes. "Drink up while it's hot," she said. She settled into the chair across from me, like she always did, ready to chat about her day. But this time I noticed something. Something I'd missed before. She wasn't just making conversation. She was watching, studying my face as I lifted the cup, waiting for something, waiting for me to drink poison. Hepatiabal. The cup felt heavy in my hands. Steam rose between us, the familiar chamomile scent, but now it smelled different, wrong, dangerous. "Is everything all right, Mom Eleanor?" she asked, her voice concerned. when I hesitated. "You look pale." I forced a smile. Brought the cup closer to my lips. "Just tired from the gardening," I said. The steam warmed my face. I saw something flicker in her eyes. Anticipation? Excitement? The look of someone watching their plan unfold. Mitt i känner passover, that's when it hit me. Like a freight train. The months of feeling weak. The dizzy spells. The nausea my doctor couldn't explain. The way I'd been getting sicker. And how Rachel had been so helpful, so concerned, always suggesting I rest more, eat less, see fewer people. She'd been isolating me, slowly poisoning me, watching me deteriorate, playing the caring daughter-in-law, while she methodically murdered me. The realization made me sick. Not from poison, from betrayal. This woman lived in my house, ate my food, I paid for her children's clothes, their toys, their birthday parties. I'd written her into my will, given her jewelry that belonged to my mother, their prayal, and she was killing me for it. Their prayal. I thought about the symptoms. They'd started about 6 months ago, right after I'd updated my will. Marcus had mentioned needing money for a bigger house. Rachel had been asking about my finances, my investments, my real estate portfolio. Minty. The pattern was clear now. The daily tea routine had started around the same time. Always at 3 p.m. Always chamomile. Always with that sweet smile. And I'd been getting weaker ever since. My own daughter-in-law. The mother of my grandchildren. The woman I'd trusted with my home. My family. My life. Had been slowly poisoning me. And she was sitting right there, watching me drink what might be my final cup of tea, with the patience of someone perfecting murder. "Mom, Eleanor?" Rachel's voice cut through my thoughts. "Your tea's getting cold." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Those innocent blue eyes. That concerned expression. The way she leaned forward. Like she cared about my well-being. It was all an act. A performance. She was a killer wearing a mask. My floors. I set the cup down. Without taking a sip. "Yuri Lal." "Actually, Rachel," I said. My voice steady despite the storm inside. "I think I'll let it cool down first." The disappointment flashed across her face. Quick. But I caught it. The mask slipped for just a second. I saw the real Rachel underneath. Cold. Calculating. Impatient for my death. She recovered quickly. "Of course, Mom, Eleanor. Take your time." But her smile was strained now. Forced. The caring daughter-in-law act was harder to maintain. "How was your day, dear?" I asked. Playing along. Two could play this game. She wanted to pretend? Fine, I'd pretend too. Until I figured out my next move. "Dex." "Oh, the usual," she said, relaxing slightly. "Took the girls to school, did some shopping. Called my mother." She chattered on. But I wasn't listening to her words. I was watching her body language. The way she kept glancing at my untouched cup. The slight tension in her shoulders. Koid. She was nervous. Good. She should be. Koid. I picked up the cup again. Pretended to take a sip. Just touched it to my lips. Rachel leaned forward. Hope in her eyes. I set it down again. "Still too hot," I said. "You make it so much stronger than I do." "I just want to make sure you get all the benefits," she said. "Chamomile is so good for relaxation, for sleep, for killing elderly women apparently." Hallow be. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was right about the sleep part. Permanent sleep. If her plan worked. "You're so thoughtful," I said, meaning the opposite. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "Oh, Mom, Eleanor," she said, reaching across to pat my hand. You don't need to worry about that. No, because she planned to make sure I never had to worry about anything again. Her touch made my skin crawl. This hand had just dropped poison in my tea. Now it was touching me, comforting me, like a snake offering sympathy to its prey. What is? I needed to think. Fast. What was her endgame? How long had she been doing this? Was Marcus involved? Did he know his wife was a killer? Or was he another victim of her manipulation? The questions swirled in my mind. But one thing was clear. I couldn't drink that tea. I couldn't let her know I suspected. Not yet. I needed evidence. Proof. A plan. Rachel, I said, standing up slowly. I just remembered. I need to take my blood pressure medication. Dr. Martinez said to take it with food. Not on an empty stomach. Oh, she said. Disappointment flickering again. Should I keep your tea warm? That's sweet of you, I said. But don't trouble yourself, I might be a while. You know how these medications are. They make me drowsy. Of course, she said. But I could see the frustration. Her plan was failing. I wasn't drinking the poison, I was escaping her trap. I walked to my bedroom. Slowly. Like an old woman should. Playing the part she expected. But inside, my mind was racing. I had to be smart about this. One wrong move, and she might escalate. Try something more direct. More violent. DIL. In my bedroom, I locked the door, sat on Harold's side of the bed, where he used to read his newspapers. I missed him so much right now. Harold would know what to do. He always knew how to handle difficult situations. But Harold was gone. I was on my own. A 70-year-old woman against a killer. It should have been terrifying. Instead, I felt something else. Anger. Cold, burning anger. This woman had violated everything sacred. Family. Trust. Love. She'd turned my daily comfort into a weapon. My kindness into weakness. My home into a crime scene. But she'd made one mistake. She'd underestimated me. Thought I was just another frail old lady. Easy to manipulate. Easy to kill. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I didn't build a successful business by being weak. I didn't survive cancer by giving up. I didn't raise 4 children alone after Harold's heart attack by being helpless. Easy tay. Rachel was about to learn that this grandmother had claws. Own. I went to my dresser. Pulled out Harold's old business card holder. Hidden behind it was a small key to the safety deposit box at First National Bank, where I kept my important documents. My real will, my life insurance policies, and something else Rachel didn't know about. Harold had been paranoid about security. He'd installed cameras throughout the house, hidden ones. They still worked, still recorded. I'd been meaning to update the system. Now I was grateful for Harold's paranoia. Hey. If Rachel had been poisoning my tea for months, it was all on video. Every drop. Every smile. Every lie. The evidence was sitting in my home security system. I just needed to access it. But first, I needed to survive. And I needed to make sure she didn't suspect I knew. The performance had to continue. For now. For now. I returned to the kitchen. Rachel was washing dishes. My untouched teacup sat on the counter. The liquid inside looked innocent. Clear amber, like any normal cup of tea. Except it contained death. Feeling better? She asked, not turning around. But I heard the tension in her voice. Much better, I said, though I'm quite tired. I think I'll skip dinner tonight. Just rest. Are you sure? She asked, turning to face me. I was making your favorite, chicken and dumplings. Another lie. Rachel never cooked my favorites. She made what she liked. What the children would eat. She'd never bothered learning what I preferred, because she never planned for me to be around long enough for it to matter. That's very sweet, I said. But I'm really not hungry. Age. You know, the appetite isn't what it used to be. Of course, she said. I understand. Should I bring you some tea later? Before bed? The offer made my blood freeze. She wasn't giving up. She was planning another attempt. This time when I'd be more vulnerable, more tired, less likely to resist. Oh no, dear, I said. I'll probably fall asleep early. Don't want to trouble you. It's no trouble, she insisted. I want to take care of you. Take care of me, right, the way a predator takes care of prey. Nain. We'll see, I said, non-committal. I should go rest now. I walked away, feeling her eyes on my back, knowing she was frustrated. Her plan had failed today. But she'd try again tomorrow. And the day after. Until she succeeded. Haputzhack. Unless I stopped her first. Haputzhack. In my bedroom, I sat at Harold's old desk, opened my laptop. The security system was accessible online. Harold had insisted on the latest technology. Even at 70, I was more tech-savvy than Rachel realized. I logged into the system, scrolled back through months of footage. There it was, day after day. Rachel in my kitchen, 3 p.m. sharp, making tea. And there, the first time she'd added something extra. 6 months ago. Just like I suspected. Diet. The evidence was overwhelming, damning. But I needed more than video. I needed the poison itself, and I needed to stay alive long enough to use it. Tomorrow would be Wednesday. Another day. Another cup of tea. Another attempt on my life. Trowelns. But this time I'd be ready. The war had begun. And Rachel had no idea she was fighting a survivor. Momomitax. Wednesday morning came too soon. I'd barely slept. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every footstep in the hallway made my heart race. Was Rachel coming to finish what she started? Had she grown impatient with the slow poison? Would she try something more direct? But when morning came, everything seemed normal. Rachel was in the kitchen making breakfast. The twins were getting ready for school. Marcus was rushing around looking for his briefcase. Just another ordinary day in the life of a family. Except one member was a killer. "Good morning, Mom Eleanor," Rachel said brightly. She was flipping pancakes, the domestic goddess act in full swing. "How did you sleep?" "Like a baby," I lied, pouring myself coffee. My hands didn't shake. Years of business meetings had taught me to hide my emotions. "These smell wonderful." "Your favorite," she said. "Blueberry pancakes." Another lie. I hated blueberries. Always had. Harold knew that, my children knew that, but Rachel had never bothered to learn. In 3 years of living here, she'd never asked about my preferences. Never cared enough to notice. The twins rushed in. Emma and Sophie. 8 years old. Identical blonde curls. Bright blue eyes like their mother. They climbed onto my lap, sticky fingers and syrup kisses. My heart ached watching them. Did they know their mother was a killer? Or were they innocent victims too? "Grandma Eleanor," Emma squealed. "Mommy made your favorite pancakes." I forced a smile. "How thoughtful of Mommy." Sophie grabbed my hand. "You look tired, Grandma. Are you sick?" Out of the mouths of babes. "Yes, sweetheart. Grandma is sick. Because your mother is poisoning her." "Just a little tired," I said, smoothing her hair. Nothing to worry about. But there was everything to worry about. These children were living with a murderer. Their mother was killing their grandmother. What kind of psychological damage would this cause them when they found out the truth? And they would find out. Eventually. Beaterapush. Marcus appeared, grabbing coffee and a piece of toast. Always rushing, always stressed about work. He kissed my cheek. "Morning, Mom, you okay? You look pale." I'd been looking pale for 6 months. Because his wife was slowly killing me. But Marcus was too busy to notice. Too focused on his career. His mortgage. His problems. He had no idea his mother was dying under his own roof. "I'm fine, dear," I said, "just tired." "Maybe you should see Dr. Martinez again," he said. "Get another checkup." Rachel's head snapped up. "That's a great idea," she said quickly. "I've been worried about you too. You've been so weak lately." Of course she was worried. Worried her poison wasn't working fast enough. "I'm seeing him next week," I said, which was true. I'd made the appointment yesterday. After discovering Rachel's little hobby, Dr. Martinez was going to run some very specific tests. Tests for heavy metals, for plant-based toxins, for anything that shouldn't be in a 70-year-old woman's blood. "Good," Marcus said, grabbing his briefcase. "Rachel, can you drive Mom to the appointment? I've got that Johnson audit all week." "Of course," Rachel said. "I'd be happy to." I bet she would. Chance to influence what I told the doctor. Maybe even speak to him privately. Paint me as a confused old woman, having delusions, imagining things. Caca. But I wasn't confused. I wasn't imagining anything. I had video evidence. And soon I'd have medical proof. Paint Nance. After Marcus left for work, I helped get the twins ready for school. Braided their hair. Made sure they had their lunch boxes. Normal grandmother things. While their mother planned my murder. "Rachel," I said casually, "I think I'll skip my afternoon tea today. I want to go into town, do some shopping." Her face fell. "Oh, are you sure? You never miss your tea." "Exactly. 6 months of routine. 6 months of poisoning." She was counting on my predictability, my habits, using them against me. "I need to pick up some things at the pharmacy," I said. "Maybe stop by the bank. You know how these errands pile up." "I could do that for you," she offered quickly. "You shouldn't strain yourself." "That's sweet," I said. "But I need to speak to Mr. Henderson at the bank personally, about updating some accounts." This was partially true. I did need to see Mr. Henderson. But not about accounts. About safety deposit boxes. About accessing Harold's old security equipment. About protecting myself from a killer. Rachel's smile was strained. "Of course, whatever you need." I could see her mind working. Calculating. How long would I be gone? When would I be back? When could she try again? "I'll probably be out most of the afternoon," I said. "Don't wait dinner for me. I might eat in town." "Okay," she said. But she wasn't happy. Her routine was disrupted. Her plan was delayed. Good. Man Kier. I drove to town in Harold's old Cadillac. Still ran like a dream. Harold had taken such good care of it. Just like he'd taken care of everything. The house. The business. Me. He'd have known what to do about Rachel. Harold was good at reading people. Better than I was, apparently. First stop was Dr. Martinez's office. I moved my appointment up, claimed I was feeling worse. Which wasn't entirely a lie. Knowing someone was trying to kill you definitely made you feel worse. "Mrs. Whitmore," Dr. Martinez said. He'd been our family doctor for 20 years. "What seems to be the problem?" "I need some specific blood tests," I said. "I think someone might be poisoning me." He blinked. "Poisoning? Mrs. Whitmore? That's a very serious accusation." "It's a very serious situation," I said. I told him about the symptoms, the timeline, the daily tea routine. I didn't mention catching Rachel in the act. Not yet. But I planted the seed. "The day's symptoms could have many causes," he said carefully. "But if you're concerned, we can certainly run a comprehensive toxicology panel." "I want every test you can think of," I said. "Heavy metals, plant toxins, synthetic compounds, everything." He made notes, asked questions, scheduled blood work for the next morning. Dr. Martinez was thorough, professional. But I could see the concern in his eyes. He'd known me for 20 years. I wasn't a paranoid woman. If I thought someone was poisoning me, he was going to take it seriously. Next stop was the bank. Mr. Henderson had been Harold's friend for 30 years. He'd handled all our business accounts, our investments, our estate planning. "Eleanor," he said warmly. How are you holding up? I need to access Harold's safety deposit box, I said. The one with the extra security equipment. Mr. Henderson raised an eyebrow. Harold had been paranoid about corporate espionage. Back when we owned the manufacturing company, he had kept backup security equipment in the bank. Hidden cameras, recording devices, things that could gather evidence if needed. Is everything all right? Mr. Henderson asked. I need to document something, I said carefully. For legal purposes. He didn't ask more questions. That was one thing I loved about Mr. Henderson. He understood when clients needed discretion. Within an hour, I had everything I needed. Tiny cameras, audio recording devices, equipment that would capture every detail of Rachel's next attempt. My last stop was the most important. The crime lab downtown. I'd looked them up online. They did private testing. For individuals. For lawyers. For people who needed proof of things the police couldn't investigate yet. I need something tested, I told the technician. A young woman with serious eyes and careful hands. What kind of testing? I think it contains poison, I said. I need to know what kind, how much, how lethal. I'd brought the teacup from yesterday. The one Rachel had doctored. The one I'd never drunk. I'd saved it in a sealed container. Kept it cold. Preserved the evidence. The technician took the sample. Explained the process. Different tests for different compounds. It would take a few days for results. But they'd be thorough, comprehensive, admissible in court if needed. Ma'am, she said carefully, if you suspect someone is poisoning you, you should contact the police. I will, I said, as soon as I have proof. Because that's what this was about. Proof. Evidence. Making sure Rachel couldn't talk her way out of it. Couldn't claim it was an accident. Couldn't manipulate the system like she'd manipulated me. Proof. I drove home as the sun was setting. Rachel's car was in the driveway. Lights were on in the kitchen. The picture of domestic tranquility. If you didn't know, one of the residents was a killer. Mom, Eleanor, Rachel called out as I entered. How was your day? You were gone so long. I was starting to worry. Sure she was. Worried her victim had escaped. Just errands, I said. You know how these things go. One stop leads to another. Are you hungry? I saved you a plate. That's thoughtful, I said. But I ate in town. I think I'll just have some tea and go to bed early. Tea? Her eyes lit up. I'll make you some. The usual? Actually, I said slowly, I think I'd like something different tonight. Maybe some green tea? For a change? Her face fell. Green tea wasn't part of the routine. She probably didn't have poison prepared for green tea. Only for chamomile. Her careful plan was disrupted again. Of course, she said. Whatever you prefer. But I could see the wheels turning. How could she adapt? What was her backup plan? How long before she figured out another way to kill me? Quill in tow. I went to my bedroom early, locked the door, set up Harold's security equipment. Tiny cameras focused on the kitchen. Audio devices that would pick up every word, every whisper, every plan. Then I sat at Harold's desk and did something I hadn't done in months. I wrote. In my journal, the one I'd kept since we were married. Harold used to tease me about it. Writing our autobiography? He'd joke. Now I was writing evidence. A timeline. Every symptom. Every interaction with Rachel. Every lie she'd told. Every kind gesture that had hidden poison. It would all be documented. Dated. Signed. BGIs. If something happened to me before I could expose her, the journal would speak for me. GIs again. But nothing was going to happen to me. I wasn't going to be Rachel's victim. I'd survived too much to be taken down by a greedy daughter-in-law. Harold hadn't raised a quitter. My parents hadn't raised a victim. The hell. I'd built a business from nothing. Started with a small loan and a dream. Harold and I had worked 18-hour days. Slept in the office. Ate nothing but ramen noodles for months. But we'd built something. Created jobs. Supported families. Made a difference. When Harold had his heart attack, I'd taken over completely. Learned every aspect of the business. Made decisions I'd never had to make before. Dealt with suppliers. Negotiated contracts. Handled the banks. The men didn't take me seriously at first. A widow in her 60s trying to run a manufacturing company? They thought I'd fold within months. Sell out cheap. Give up and go home to knit. Ma. They were wrong. I was tougher than they imagined. Smarter than they assumed. More determined than they could understand. I'd learned from Harold, yes. But I'd also learned from necessity. From survival. From the absolute refusal to let anyone destroy what we'd built together. The first board meeting after Harold's funeral was brutal. 12 men in expensive suits, all assuming they could intimidate me. Push me around. Force me to sell my shares. Eleanor, the chairman said condescendingly, we understand this is difficult. Running a company is very stressful. Perhaps it would be better if you stepped back. Let us handle things. I looked around that room. At their smug faces. Their patronizing smiles. Their absolute certainty that I was just a grieving widow who would crumble under pressure. Gentlemen, I said calmly. I own 51% of this company. Harold and I built it from nothing. I know every employee, every contract, every supplier, every secret. If you think I'm going to walk away and let you destroy his legacy, you're mistaken. The silence was deafening. They hadn't expected resistance. They'd expected tears. Weakness. A quick surrender. Instead, they got war. Press. Over the next 5 years, I proved them all wrong. Increased profits by 30%. Expanded into new markets. Modernized the equipment. Improved working conditions. Made the company stronger than it had ever been under Harold's leadership. Kel. Not because I was better than Harold, but because I had something to prove. Something to protect. Something worth fighting for. Tai. When I finally sold the company, it was on my terms. For my price. To buyers I approved of. People who would protect the employees. Continue the legacy. Honor what Harold and I had built together. The sale made me wealthy, beyond anything I'd imagined. Wealthy enough to buy anything I wanted. Travel anywhere I chose. Live however I pleased. But I chose to live simply. In the house Harold and I had shared. Surrounded by family. Sharing my good fortune with people I loved. Being the grandmother I'd always wanted to be. I'd given Rachel and Marcus the down payment for their first house. Paid for the twins' private school. Covered medical bills when Marcus broke his leg. Bought Rachel jewelry for her birthday. Clothes for the children. Vacations for the family. By my time. I'd never asked for anything in return. Never demanded gratitude. Never held my generosity over their heads. I gave freely. Happily. Because that's what family did for each other. But apparently, it wasn't enough for Rachel. She wanted more. Wanted it all. Wanted it now. And she was willing to kill for it. Least har. Thursday morning brought another performance. Rachel making breakfast. Acting concerned about my health. Asking about my plans for the day. I think I'll stay home today, I said. Maybe work in the garden. The roses need attention. That sounds lovely, she said. Should I bring you some tea later? When you take a break? Maybe, I said, non-committal, keeping her guessing. I spent the morning in the garden, but not really gardening, setting up more cameras. Harold's equipment was surprisingly sophisticated. Wireless. Motion-activated. Connected to my laptop. I could monitor everything from my bedroom. Harold had been paranoid about security. Corporate espionage was real in the manufacturing business. Competitors trying to steal designs. Employees selling secrets. Suppliers playing games with prices. Try Rio. He'd installed this system to protect our intellectual property. Our trade secrets. Our competitive advantages. Now I was using it to protect my life. Try Re. At exactly 3 p.m. my phone buzzed. Motion detection in the kitchen. I watched on my laptop screen as Rachel prepared the tea service. The same ritual. The same careful precision. The same glass vial from her purse. Motion. But this time I was recording everything. High-definition video. Crystal clear audio. Evidence that would convict her in any courtroom. She opened the chamomile box. Measured the tea leaves. Boiled the water. All normal activities. Then she reached for her purse. The moment of truth. I zoomed in with the camera. Watched her fingers close around the small vial. Saw her check to make sure she was alone. Then she unscrewed the cap, squeezed 3 drops into my cup, swirled it gently, replaced the cap, put the vial back in her purse. All captured in perfect detail. Time-stamped, undeniable. She arranged the tea service on a tray. Added some cookies she'd baked earlier. The picture of domestic care. If you didn't know, she was serving murder. Midges. She called out to me, "Mom Eleanor, tea time." "Coming," I called back. But I didn't go to the kitchen. I went to my bedroom, watched the laptop screen, saw Rachel waiting, getting impatient. Calling again. "Mom Eleanor, your tea is getting cold." Still, I didn't respond. I wanted to see what she would do, how long she would wait, whether she would come looking for me. Mommiss. After 10 minutes, she did. I heard her footsteps in the hallway. Coming toward my room, I quickly minimized the laptop screen. Pretended to be napping. "Mom Eleanor?" She knocked softly. "Are you all right?" I made sleepy noises. Pretended to wake up. "Oh, Rachel. I must have dozed off." "I called for tea," she said, slight irritation in her voice. "I'm sorry, dear," I said, rubbing my eyes. "Garden work is more tiring than it used to be." "Your tea is getting cold," she said. "I'll be right there," I promised. But when I got to the kitchen, I did something unexpected. I picked up the wrong cup. Rachel had prepared 2 cups of tea. One for me, with poison. One for herself, without poison. I grabbed hers by mistake. "Wait," she said quickly. "That's mine. Yours is the other one." "Oh," I said, setting down her cup. "Sorry, they look identical." "I put extra honey in yours," she said smoothly. "The way you like it." Extra honey. To hide the taste of poison. How thoughtful of her to consider my comfort while she murdered me. Miffully, I picked up my cup, the poisoned one, brought it to my lips, saw Rachel lean forward eagerly, her eyes fixed on my mouth, waiting for me to drink death. Then I stopped. "You know what?" I said. "I'm not really in the mood for tea. Maybe later." The frustration on her face was beautiful. 2 days in a row. 2 failed attempts. Her careful plan was falling apart. Her victim was being uncooperative. "Are you feeling all right?" she asked. "You've been acting strange lately." "Strange how?" "Not eating properly. Skipping your tea. Sleeping at odd hours. Maybe I should call Dr. Martinez. You might be getting depressed." Depressed. That was rich. Coming from someone who was trying to kill me. Pontai. "I'm fine," I said firmly. "Just going through some changes. It happens at my age." "Maybe some medication would help," she pressed. "Something to improve your appetite. Help you sleep better." More drugs. Of course. If the poison wasn't working fast enough, maybe she could get me on prescription medication. Something she could tamper with. Something that would do the job quicker. "I'll discuss it with Dr. Martinez," I said. "When is your appointment?" she asked. "Tomorrow morning," I said, "early." "Should I drive you?" "That's not necessary. I can manage." "Are you sure?" "I don't mind. I worry about you driving when you're not feeling well. She wanted to be there, to control the narrative, to make sure I didn't say anything that might expose her. I'm fine to drive, I said. It's not that far. I tamed. That night, I reviewed the video footage. Hours of evidence. Rachel's face when she added the poison. Her disappointment when I didn't drink it. Her growing frustration with my changing behavior. But I also saw something else. Something that chilled me to the bone. When she thought I wasn't looking, when she thought no one was watching, her mask slipped completely. Joe. The caring daughter-in-law disappeared. In its place was someone cold, calculating, impatient. Someone who saw me not as a person, but as an obstacle. Something to be removed. In is something ni absam. I had her dead to rights. But I needed more. I needed to know what she was using. How much. How lethal it was. The lab results would tell me that. Friday morning, I woke before dawn. Dressed carefully. Ate a light breakfast. Avoided Rachel's offer of coffee. Who knew what she might have put in it? Dr. Martinez had called the night before. Asked me to come in early. Said he had preliminary results. His voice was grave. Concerned. I knew what that meant. Manay Sapur's Kamayer. The drive to his office felt surreal. Like I was driving to my own funeral. In a way, I was. The old Eleanor was about to die. The trusting grandmother. The generous mother-in-law. The woman who believed family meant safety. Kisura's was Gray's. That woman was gone. Killed by betrayal. By poison. By the ultimate violation of trust. In her place was someone harder. Colder. Someone who understood that kindness could be weaponized. That love could be faked. That family could be deadly. Drabo. Dr. Martinez's face was serious when I entered his office. He had test results spread across his desk. Charts and numbers that spelled out my near death in clinical terms. Eleanor, he said carefully, these results are very concerning. You have elevated levels of several toxic compounds in your system. Heavy metals, plant alkaloids, things that could only have gotten there through deliberate administration. Poison, I said flatly. Yes, he said. Someone has been poisoning you. Systematically, over a period of months. The levels suggest regular, consistent exposure. I felt vindicated and terrified at the same time. Vindicated because I'd been right. Terrified because I'd come so close to dying. How much longer? I asked. If it had continued? Dr. Martinez looked at his charts. Did some calculations. Hard to say exactly. But at these levels, with continued exposure, weeks, maybe a month or two. Weeks. Rachel had been weeks away from killing me. If I hadn't caught her in the act, I'd be dead by Christmas. The twins would be mourning their grandmother. Marcus would be planning my funeral. And Rachel would be inheriting millions. Doctor, I said, I need you to document everything. Every test. Every result. I'm going to need this for legal purposes. He nodded grimly. I'll prepare a complete report. And Eleanor, you need to contact the police. This is attempted murder. I will, I promised, as soon as I have all the evidence I need. Because Rachel wasn't getting away with this. She'd tried to kill me. In my own home. While I loved her children. While I supported her family. While I trusted her with my life. She'd used my kindness against me. My generosity. My love for my family. She'd turned my daily comfort into a weapon. My trust into vulnerability. My home into a crime scene. But her biggest mistake wasn't trying to poison me. Her biggest mistake was failing to finish the job. Now it was my turn. And I was going to make sure she never got another chance to hurt anyone ever again. Friday afternoon, I sat in my car outside Dr. Martinez's office. The medical report was in my purse. Official proof that someone was trying to kill me. The numbers didn't lie. The tests didn't lie. But my family had been lying for months. Wamishaka, I needed to understand why. What had driven Rachel to this? When had she decided I was worth more dead than alive? When had my daughter-in-law become a killer? Vote. The answers were in my house. In Harold's old files. In the records I'd kept of every financial transaction, every gift, every act of kindness that had apparently bred nothing but greed. But first, I needed to make a call. To someone who could help me understand the legal implications. Someone who had known Harold and me for decades. Someone I could trust. Margaret Fleming had been our attorney for 25 years. She'd handled the business sale, the estate planning, the trusts and foundations. She knew every detail of our financial situation, every asset, every beneficiary. "Eleanor," Margaret said when I called, "how are you holding up?" "I need to see you," I said. "Immediately. It's about my will, about the family." "Is everything all right?" "Someone is trying to kill me," I said simply. "I need to understand if they have financial motivation." There was silence on the line. Then, "Come to my office. Now. We'll go through everything." Margaret's office was downtown, in one of those old buildings with marble floors and brass fixtures. The kind of place that spoke of tradition, stability, trust, things that seemed to be disappearing from my life. "Tell me everything," Margaret said after I'd settled into the leather chair across from her desk. I told her about the poison, the medical tests, the video evidence, Rachel's attempts on my life. Margaret listened without interruption, taking notes, her face growing more serious with each detail. "My God, Eleanor," she said when I finished, "you could have died." "I still could," I said. "She's not going to stop. Not until she gets what she wants." "Which is?" "My money. All of it." Margaret pulled out a thick file. "My estate documents, the will, the trust arrangements, everything Harold and I had set up to protect our legacy." "Let's review what Rachel actually stands to inherit," Margaret said. She spread the documents across her desk. "Under your current will, she and Marcus get the house, plus a trust fund for the twins' education, and a monthly allowance for family expenses." "How much total?" "About $2 million, over time. And if something happened to me soon," Margaret calculated, "with the life insurance and immediate bequests, maybe $3 million. That's it?" "That's it. The bulk of your estate goes to the foundation, the scholarship fund, the medical research endowment, just like you and Harold planned." I stared at the numbers. $3 million. Rachel was trying to kill me for $3 million, when my total estate was worth over $50 million. She doesn't know about the foundation, I realized. She thinks she's getting everything. "Many people assume that," Margaret said. "Family members think they automatically inherit. They don't realize how carefully wealthy people structure their estates. Or they're too greedy to ask." Exactly. I thought about all the conversations Rachel had tried to start. About my finances, my investments, my plans. I'd always been vague. Told her not to worry about money, that the family would be taken care of. Although, she'd interpreted that to mean she'd be rich when I died. Instead, she'd get enough to live comfortably, but not enough to be wealthy. Not enough to quit working. Not enough to fund the lifestyle she'd imagined. "There's something else," Margaret said. "Something you should know about your son's financial situation." "Marcus?" "He's in trouble, Eleanor. Serious trouble." Margaret pulled out another file. This one, thinner. More recent. "He asked me to review some documents last month, debt consolidation papers. He owes over $200,000. My heart sank. "How?" "Credit cards. Personal loans. A second mortgage on their house. Apparently Rachel has expensive taste." "Why didn't he tell me?" "Pride, probably. Shame. You raised him to be responsible. He's embarrassed about the debt." I thought about Marcus, my youngest son. Always the sweetest of my children. The most trusting. The one who saw the best in everyone. Including Rachel. Does Rachel know about his debt? She should. They're married. Community property state. She's legally responsible for half of it. Or she caused it. Margaret nodded grimly. That's possible too. Suddenly, everything made sense. Rachel wasn't just greedy. She was desperate. Drowning in debt she'd created. Looking for a way out. And I was her ticket to financial freedom. There's more, Margaret said. I did some checking after you called. Rachel has been asking questions. About your estate. About how quickly assets transfer after death. About life insurance payouts. When? 6 months ago, right around the time you said the poisoning started. The timeline was perfect. Rachel had been planning this for months. Researching. Calculating. Figuring out how to get the money fast. Before the debt collectors came calling. Ifik himself fang fakes. She contacted other attorneys too, Margaret continued. Asking about challenging wills. About what happens if someone dies intestate. About family rights to estates. She was planning to contest my will? Or make sure you died before you could change it. The coldness of it hit me like a slap. Rachel hadn't just decided to kill me on impulse. This was premeditated. Calculated. She'd done research. Made plans. Chosen her method carefully. There's something else you need to know, Margaret said. Her voice was very quiet now. About Rachel's background. Her family history. What about it? I had my investigator do some digging after you called. Rachel's maiden name is Walsh. Rachel Marie Walsh. So? Her mother didn't die in a car accident like she told you. Her mother was murdered. By her stepfather, who was never convicted. My blood went cold. What? The stepfather claimed food poisoning. Said his wife had eaten something bad. The symptoms were consistent with natural illness. But the daughter, Rachel, was the only witness. She was 16. My God. It gets worse. Her stepfather died 2 years later. Similar symptoms. Rachel was 18. Living in his house. Taking care of him after a stroke. She killed him. The police suspected, but they couldn't prove anything. Rachel inherited everything, used the money to go to college, where she met Marcus. I felt sick. Rachel hadn't learned to poison people for me. She'd learned it years ago, from practice, on her own family members. How many others? I asked. We don't know, but there was an elderly man she worked for during college. Home health aide. He died suddenly, left her money in his will. Dear God, she's done this before. Multiple times, we think. Always the same pattern. Gains trust. Takes care of someone. Then they die unexpectedly. And she benefits financially. I was living with a serial killer, a woman who had perfected murder over years of practice, who had married my son specifically to get access to my money, who had been planning my death from the moment she moved into my house. Why hasn't she been caught? She's careful, patient. The victims are always vulnerable. Elderly, sick, people whose deaths wouldn't be surprising. And she's learned from each one, gotten better at it. But not this time. No, this time she chose the wrong victim. Margaret was right. Rachel had underestimated me. Thought I was just another frail old woman. Another easy target. She had no idea about Harold's security system. About my business background. About my willingness to fight back. What do we do now? I asked. We call the police. You have medical evidence, video evidence, a clear motive. It's enough for an arrest. Not yet, I said. I want more. I want to catch her in the act. With witnesses. Make sure she can never claim it was an accident. Eleanor, that's dangerous. She's killed before. If she suspects you know, she won't suspect. I'm just a confused old woman, remember? Besides, I have advantages now. I know what she is. She doesn't know that I know. Margaret looked worried. What are you planning? Justice, I said. Harold always said the best defense is a good offense. It's time to go on the attack. I drove home with my mind racing. Everything looked different now. The house Harold and I had built. The rooms where we'd raised our children. The kitchen where Rachel prepared poison every day. Konna. It was all contaminated now, tainted by the presence of evil. But it was still my house, my territory, my battlefield. Rachel was in the garden when I got home, playing with the twins. The picture of maternal devotion. If you didn't know she was a killer. "Grandma," Emma ran to me. "Mommy's teaching us about flowers." "How wonderful," I said, hugging her tight. These innocent children, living with a monster, never knowing how close they were to evil. How was your doctor's appointment?" Rachel asked, concern in her voice, as if she cared about my health. "Fine," I said. "Just routine tests. Everything looks normal." The disappointment flashed across her face. Quick, but I caught it. She'd been hoping for bad news, for signs that her poison was working faster. "That's good," she said. "I've been worried about you." "Dr. Martinez wants to see me again next week," I added. "More tests. He's being very thorough." This was true. Dr. Martinez wanted to monitor the poison levels, make sure they were decreasing now that I'd stopped drinking the tea. But Rachel didn't need to know that. "More tests?" she asked. "For what?" I made a note to have Margaret's investigator check Rachel's phone records, find out who she was communicating with, what other plans she might be making. Because one thing was clear, I wasn't Rachel's first victim. And unless I stopped her, I wouldn't be her last. Hep, the twins came to say goodnight. Pajamas and toothbrushes and sleepy hugs. Emma climbed into my lap. "Grandma, are you feeling better?" "Much better, sweetheart. Why?" "Mommy said you were sick. That's why you've been tired." "Mommy talks about me being sick?" "Sometimes. She tells Daddy you might need to go to the hospital, like Great-Grandpa did." My heart clenched. Rachel was already preparing the family for my death, planting seeds, making my eventual demise seem natural, expected. What else does Mommy say about Grandma being sick? That we should be extra nice to you, because sick people need love. That's very sweet. And that when people get really old and sick, sometimes they go to heaven, like Great-Grandpa. Rachel was preparing these children for my murder, using them as unknowing accomplices, making them complicit in her crime. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. These innocent babies, being manipulated by their own mother, being taught to accept my death as natural, when it would be anything but chakaso. "Grandma's not going anywhere," I told Emma firmly. "I'm going to be here for a very long time. Promise?" "I promise." And I meant it. Rachel thought she was going to kill me. She thought she had it all figured out. The perfect crime, the perfect victim, the perfect payout. Grandma so. She was wrong on all counts. Woe. After the twins went to bed, Marcus came to my study. He looked tired, stressed. The weight of his debt was showing. "Halom. Mom, can we talk?" "Of course. Sit down." He settled into Harold's old chair, the one where his father used to read the newspaper, where they'd had father-son talks about life, about responsibility, about being a man. "I need to tell you something," Marcus said, "about Rachel and me, about our finances." "What about them?" "We're in trouble, deep trouble. I've made some bad decisions, some investments that didn't work out. And Rachel, she likes nice things." "How much trouble?" "Over 200,000 in debt, credit cards, personal loans. The house is mortgaged to the limit." "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was embarrassed. You and Dad always taught us to be responsible, to live within our means. I failed." My heart broke for him. My sweet boy, drowning in debt, married to a killer, and he had no idea about either problem. "What does Rachel say about the debt?" "She says not to worry, that she'll help us when we really need it. That family takes care of family. And if something happened to me, she says everything will work out. That will inherit enough to pay off the debts. Start fresh." There it was. Rachel's manipulation in full view. She'd convinced Marcus that my death would solve their problems, that my inheritance would save them. She'd made him complicit without him even knowing it. "Marcus," I said carefully, "what would you say if I told you Rachel was planning to hurt me?" He laughed. "Hurt you? Mom, Rachel loves you. She takes such good care of you. The tea every day, checking on you constantly. She's always worried about your health." What if that worry wasn't genuine? "What do you mean?" I almost told him then, almost showed him the video evidence, the medical reports, the proof that his wife was a killer. A con-self. But I stopped myself. Marcus wasn't ready for that truth. He loved Rachel, trusted her completely. If I told him now, he might warn her, might give her a chance to escape. I needed to be smarter, more careful. I needed to protect Marcus from the truth, until I could protect him from Rachel. "Nothing," I said. "I'm just being a silly old woman, imagining things." "You're not silly, and you're not that old. You're gonna be around for years." "I hope so. I know so. Rachel and I are gonna take such good care of you. We'll make sure you're happy, comfortable, safe." Safe. If only he knew how unsafe I was, how close I'd come to dying, how his wife was planning my murder while he promised my protection. "I love you, Marcus," I said. "No matter what happens, remember that I love you." "I love you too, Mom. We all do." After he left, I sat alone in the study, planning my next move. Rachel thought she was hunting me. She thought I was prey. Gasonk. It was time to show her what this grandmother could do. Time to turn the tables. Time to become the hunter. He wants to check my heart, my liver function, make sure everything's working properly. Rachel's mind was calculating. The liver processed toxins. If it was damaged, the poison would work faster. Kill me sooner. "Should I be concerned?" she asked. "He says it's just precautionary. At my age, you can't be too careful." That evening, I made dinner for the family, something I hadn't done in months. Rachel seemed surprised but pleased. Less work for her. "This is delicious, Mom," Marcus said. "I'd forgotten what a good cook you are." "Your father's favorite recipe," I said. "Beef stew with Yorkshire pudding." "Dad would have loved this," Marcus said. "He's probably watching," I said, making sure I don't burn the pudding. We ate like a normal family, talking about school, about work, about weekend plans. If you didn't know one of us was planning murder, it could have been any family dinner. But I watched Rachel throughout the meal. The way she looked at me. The way she calculated every bite I took. Every word I said. She was studying me, learning my patterns, planning her next move. Piance. After dinner, I helped clean up. Rachel washed dishes. I dried them, working side by side like we had hundreds of times before. Except now I knew what she was. "Mom Eleanor," she said casually, "have you given any thought to updating your will, making sure everything's current?" There it was. The real reason for her concern about my health. She wanted to make sure her name was on the documents before I died. Why do you ask? Well, with the twins getting older, Marcus's career advancing, maybe it's time to review your estate planning. Are you concerned about something specific? Not concerned, just practical. You've been so generous with us. I want to make sure your wishes are clear, legally protected. My lawyer handles all that, I said. Margaret Fleming, she's very thorough. Of course. I just thought, maybe I could help. Review documents, make suggestions. That's thoughtful, but unnecessary. Everything's already arranged. I could see the frustration building. Rachel wanted details, numbers, confirmation that her plan would pay off. But I wasn't giving her anything. "Have you considered what would happen if something happened to Marcus?" she asked. "Would the twins and I be taken care of?" "Of course, your family, but I didn't specify how much. Or when. Or under what conditions? Let her imagination fill in the blanks. Let her assume she'd be wealthy. The bigger her expectations, the more devastating the reality would be. When she learned the truth, when she realized she'd committed murder for a fraction of what she'd imagined. "That's such a relief," she said. "I worry sometimes. About the future. About providing for the girls." "You don't need to worry," I said. "Everything will work out. You're so good to us, Mom Eleanor. I don't know how to thank you." Just being family is thanks enough. Family. The word tasted bitter now. Rachel had no idea what family meant. She saw only opportunity. Only money. Only ways to profit from love. But she was about to learn what real family looked like. What loyalty meant. What happened when you betrayed someone who had spent 70 years learning how to survive. That night, I sat in Harold's study, surrounded by his books, his papers, his presence. I could almost feel him beside me, guiding me, giving me strength. "She picked the wrong family to mess with," I whispered to his photograph. "Didn't she, Harold?" The picture seemed to smile back at me. Harold had always been protective, fierce when someone threatened our family. He'd have handled Rachel himself if he were still alive. But he wasn't. It was up to me now. To protect Marcus. To protect the twins. To make sure Rachel never hurt anyone else. I opened my laptop. Reviewed the security footage from the past few days. Rachel's attempts to poison me, her frustration when I didn't drink the tea, her growing desperation as her plan failed. But there was something else in the videos. Something I'd missed before. In the background, when Rachel thought no one was watching, she was on her phone. Texting someone. Having conversations she didn't want the family to hear. Chisanail, who was she talking to? An accomplice? Another victim? Someone else she was planning to kill? The lab results would be ready Monday. The crime lab would confirm what was in the tea, what Rachel had been using to kill me. With that evidence, plus the medical reports and video footage, I'd have an airtight case. Pun. But I wanted more than just evidence. I wanted Rachel to confess, on camera, with witnesses. I wanted her to admit what she was, what she'd done, who she really was. Bait. And I had a plan to make that happen. A plan that would expose Rachel's true nature to everyone. Her husband. Her children. The world. A plan that would make sure she never hurt anyone ever again. Sakid Chiquaid. The war was about to escalate, and Rachel had no idea what was coming for her. Kanan. Monday morning arrived with a phone call that changed everything. The crime lab had rushed my results over the weekend. What they found was worse than I'd imagined. "Mrs. Whitmore," the technician said. Her voice was grim. "You need to hear this immediately. What we found in your tea sample, it's not just one poison, it's a cocktail." A cocktail? 3 different compounds. Arsenic, digitalis from foxglove plants, and something synthetic we're still identifying. Whoever did this knows exactly what they're doing. My blood ran cold. How lethal? The combination? Extremely. It's designed to mimic natural illness, heart problems, organ failure, the kind of death that looks like old age. How long would it take? At the concentration we found? With daily doses? You had maybe 2 weeks left. 2 weeks. Rachel had been 2 weeks away from success. 2 weeks from making herself a widow. 2 weeks from inheriting millions she thought belonged to her. "There's something else," the technician continued. "This isn't amateur hour. These compounds require knowledge, planning, access to controlled substances." "What kind of access?" "Medical background. or connections to someone with medical training. This isn't something you learn from Google. After I hung up, I sat in my car outside the lab, thinking about what this meant. Rachel wasn't just a desperate housewife. She wasn't just a greedy daughter-in-law. She was a sophisticated killer with medical knowledge. But where had she gotten that knowledge? Her background was marketing. She'd worked for advertising agencies, never mentioned medical training, never showed interest in chemistry or pharmacology, beautyology, unless she'd lied about that too. I called Margaret Fleming immediately. "We need to dig deeper into Rachel's background," I said. "Education, work history, everything. What did you find?" "The poison is too sophisticated. She has medical knowledge. Training. We missed something." "I'll have my investigator expand the search. Check other names, other identities." "How long?" "Give me 24 hours. I drove home slowly, my mind racing. How many other lies had Rachel told? What else didn't we know about the woman living in my house? When I arrived, Rachel was in the kitchen, preparing lunch for the twins. The domestic goddess act in full swing. But now I saw it differently. The careful precision, the attention to detail, the way she handled kitchen knives, my bowls. Those weren't homemaker skills. They were predator skills. "How was your morning?" she asked brightly. "You were gone early." "Just errands," I said. "Banking, shopping, the usual." "I was thinking we should plan something special for dinner tonight. Marcus has been working so hard, he deserves a nice meal." "That's thoughtful. Maybe I could make your favorite dessert, that chocolate cake you love?" I didn't love chocolate cake. I was allergic to cocoa. Broke out in hives every time I ate it. But Rachel didn't know that. In 3 years of living here, she'd never bothered to learn my preferences. Or maybe she did know. Maybe the hives were just another symptom she was hoping to create. Another sign of my declining health. "That sounds lovely," I said. "Very sweet of you." The twins came running in from the backyard. Grass stains on their clothes. Dirt under their fingernails. Normal 8-year-old chaos. "Grandma Eleanor," Sophie launched herself at me. "We found a bird's nest." "How exciting! Where?" "In the big oak tree. Mommy says we can't touch it. The babies might fall out." Mommy's very smart about these things. Emma tugged on my sleeve. "Grandma, why do you look sad?" "Do I look sad?" "Your eyes look sad, like when you think about great-grandpa. Children saw too much. Notice things adults missed." Emma was picking up on something. The tension. The undercurrent of danger. "I'm not sad, sweetheart, just thinking about grown-up things." "What kind of grown-up things?" "Boring things, like paying bills and fixing the house." Rachel was watching this exchange, her face unreadable, but I caught something in her eyes. Calculation. She was wondering how much the twins might understand, how much they might repeat. "Girls," Rachel said sharply, "go wash your hands. Lunch is almost ready." They scampered off, leaving Rachel and me alone in the kitchen. "They're very observant," I said casually. "Too observant sometimes," Rachel replied. "They notice everything, remember everything." Was that a threat? A warning that the twins might become problems if they saw too much? "That's good," I said. "Smart children make smart adults. Sometimes smart children ask too many questions." There it was. The subtle threat. Rachel was worried about witnesses, about what the twins might see or hear. "Children should feel free to ask questions," I said firmly. "It's how they learn about the world." "Of course. I just mean, some adult conversations aren't appropriate for little ears." "Like what?" "Financial planning, health issues, family business." "Family business, like murder, like poison, like inheritance fraud." "I've always believed children should understand family matters," I said. "Age appropriately, of course." Rachel's smile was strained. "Of course." The twins returned with clean hands and hungry bellies. We ate lunch together. Sandwiches and fruit. Normal family food. while one family member plotted murder. I watched Rachel throughout the meal. The way she portioned food. The way she served drinks. The way she managed every detail of our lives. Control. That's what it was about. Rachel needed to control everything. Everyone. Every situation. "Mom, Eleanor," she said during lunch, "I've been thinking about your health. Maybe we should consider getting some help around the house." Help? A housekeeper. Someone to do the heavy cleaning. Maybe meal preparation. I can manage. I know you can. But you shouldn't have to. You've worked hard your whole life. You deserve to rest. Rest. While someone else controlled my food. My environment. My access to help. What kind of help were you thinking? I have a friend who runs a home care agency. Very discreet. Very professional. They could send someone a few hours a day. A friend? From college. She started the business after graduation. Very successful. Another lie. I was sure of it. Rachel's college friends were probably as fictional as her concern for my health. I'll think about it, I said. Maybe we could meet with her this week? Just to discuss options? Maybe. But I had no intention of letting strangers into my house. People Rachel had chosen. People who might be accomplices. People who could finish what Rachel had started. After lunch, I excused myself for a nap, but instead of sleeping, I reviewed the security footage from the weekend, looking for patterns. Clues. Anything that might explain Rachel's confidence, mood. That's when I saw it. Saturday afternoon, while I was at the attorney's office, Rachel had made a phone call. A long conversation. She'd been agitated. Pacing. Gesturing with her hands. I enhanced the audio. Strained to hear her side of the conversation. Not working fast enough. She's getting suspicious. Need to accelerate the timeline. Then, more clearly. The original plan isn't viable. Need backup options. What about the housekeeper idea? So it was planned. The home care suggestion wasn't spontaneous. It was part of a larger scheme. Rachel had accomplices. People helping her plan my murder. 5. I rewound the footage. Played it again, this time focusing on Rachel's face. The anger. The frustration. The cold calculation. Hoyumen din. This wasn't desperation anymore. This was rage. Rachel was angry that her plan wasn't working. Angry that I wasn't cooperating by dying on schedule. The phone rang. Margaret Fleming. "Eleanor, you need to sit down for this." "What did you find?" "Rachel Walsh doesn't exist." "Not the person living in your house, anyway." "What do you mean?" "The real Rachel Walsh died in a car accident 10 years ago. In Oregon. The woman married to your son stole her identity." My world tilted. "Who is she?" "Her real name is Linda Morrison. She has a criminal record. Fraud. Identity theft. And there's more." "Tell me." "She was married before Marcus. Twice. Both husbands died unexpectedly. Both times she inherited significant assets." Dear God. Linda Morrison is a professional black widow. She marries men for money, then kills them. Your son isn't her husband. He's her target. The rooms spun around me. Marcus wasn't just married to a killer. He was marked for death. Rachel, Linda, whoever she was, had planned to kill us both. "Where is she now?" Margaret asked. "In my house, with my grandchildren." "Eleanor, you need to get out. Now. Call the police. This woman is extremely dangerous." "I can't leave the twins. Or Marcus." "Then call them. Tell them to come to you." "Not yet. I need more evidence, more proof." "You have enough proof to bury her." "I want to save my family. All of them. Including my son's marriage. If I can." "Eleanor, this woman has killed at least 4 people. Probably more. She's not going to reform. She's not going to change. She's a predator." "Then I'll hunt the predator." After Margaret hung up, I sat in Harold's chair, thinking about my options. I could call the police right now. Have Linda arrested. Save my own life. But what about Marcus? He loved his wife. Believed in their marriage. If I destroyed that without giving him a chance to see the truth himself, I'd lose my son forever. And what about the twins? They deserve to know their father wasn't a widower by choice. That their mother was a killer. Speak, some goose. I needed to expose Linda's true nature. To everyone. At the same time. With undeniable proof. That evening, Marcus came home from work. Exhausted. Stressed. Carrying the weight of debts he didn't know his wife had planned. How was your day? Linda asked. Still playing the loving wife. Terrible. The Johnson audit is a nightmare. They're threatening to fire me if I don't find the missing funds. Missing funds? Someone's been embezzling. Big amounts. The partners think it might be me. Linda's face showed concern. But I saw something else. Interest. Calculation. She was wondering if Marcus's legal troubles might help her plans. Swear. What happens if they fire you? She asked. We lose everything. The house. The cars. Our credit rating. But your mother would help, right? Family helps family? There it was. The assumption that my money would solve their problems. That I was a bank account with legs. I can't keep asking Mom for help, Marcus said. She's done enough. She loves you. She wants to see you succeed. She wants to see me stand on my own feet. Sometimes family has to sacrifice for each other. Sacrifice. Linda had no idea what that word meant. She saw only opportunity. Only ways to profit from other people's pain. I'll figure something out, Marcus said. Of course you will. You're so smart, so capable. But I could see Linda's mind working. If Marcus lost his job, they'd need money faster. My death would have to be accelerated. The poison would have to work quicker. After dinner, I helped Linda clean up, working side by side in the kitchen where she'd tried to kill me dozens of times. Marcus seems very stressed, I said. Work is hard right now, but it'll work out. Are you worried about the money? A little, but families find ways to manage. You're very optimistic. I have to be, for the girls, for Marcus. Someone has to stay positive. Positive about murder, about fraud, about destroying lives for profit. Linda, I said casually. That's an interesting name. Rachel Linda. Do you go by your middle name? She froze. Just for a second. But I caught it. Family tradition, she said quickly. My grandmother was Rachel. I was named after her. Another lie. Smooth. Practiced. But still a lie. That's lovely. Family names are important. Very important. That night I called Margaret again. I know who she really is, I said. And I have a plan. Eleanor, please. Just call the police. Tomorrow night we're having a family dinner. I'm going to invite some neighbors. Maybe Dr. Martinez. Create an audience. For what? Linda's confession. She's not going to confess. She will. When she thinks I'm dying. When she thinks she's won. That's insane. You could actually die. Not if you help me. I need you to be there. With a recording device. And a police officer. Just in case. Eleanor, this woman has killed my son's previous wives. She's planning to kill Marcus next. After she kills me. I'm not letting that happen. Margaret sighed. What do you need me to do? Bring Detective Morrison, the one who handles fraud cases. Tell him it's about identity theft, serial murder. He'll want to be there. And if Linda gets suspicious? She won't. She thinks I'm a helpless old woman. She has no idea what she's dealing with. And spalatus puriers. The next morning, I woke with purpose. Today was the day I'd expose Linda Morrison. Show my family who she really was. Make sure she never hurt anyone again. I started by calling the neighbors. Invited them for dinner. Just a family gathering, I said. Linda's making her famous lasagna. Then I called Dr. Martinez. Could you stop by tonight? I'd like you to meet Rachel. Get your opinion on some health concerns. He agreed immediately. Dr. Martinez was still worried about the poisoning. He wanted to see the suspect for himself. Eenie. Next, I prepared the house. Set up additional cameras in the dining room, the living room, everywhere we'd be gathering. I wanted every word recorded, every expression captured. Linda was pleased about the dinner party. What a lovely idea, she said. I'll make something special. Your lasagna is always perfect. I'll use the family recipe, the one my grandmother taught me. More fiction. Linda Morrison probably learned to cook in prison. Or from other killers. Should I help with anything? No, you rest. Let me take care of everything. Take care of everything. Including my murder. I spent the afternoon in Harold's study. Writing letters. To Marcus. To the twins. To my other children. Explaining everything. In case Linda succeeded tonight. In case my plan failed. But I didn't plan to fail. I'd survived cancer. Bankruptcy. Harold's death. Raising 4 children alone. Building a business from nothing. I wasn't going to be defeated by a small-town killer with delusions of grandeur. At 5 o'clock, Margaret arrived. With Detective Morrison. He was younger than I'd expected. Serious. Professional. Mrs. Whitmore, he said. I understand you have information about identity theft? More than that. Serial murder. The woman living in my house isn't who she claims to be. I showed him the evidence. The medical reports. The lab results. The background investigation. The security footage. His face grew more serious with each revelation. Why didn't you call us sooner? I needed proof. Evidence. Something that would stick in court. You have enough to convict her 10 times over. I want to save my family, too. My son doesn't know he's married to a killer. This is dangerous, Mrs. Whitmore. Professional killers don't go quietly. Then we'd better be ready for a fight. At 6 o'clock, the neighbors arrived. The Hendersons from next door. The Johnsons from across the street. Dr. Martinez with his wife. All good people. All witnesses to what was about to happen. Linda played the perfect hostess. Charming. Gracious. Welcoming. If you didn't know she was a killer, you'd think she was delightful. Mom Eleanor has told us so much about you, Mrs. Henderson said. All good things, I hope, Linda replied with a laugh. She says you take such good care of her. Like a real daughter. I try. Family is so important. Family. The word was poison in her mouth. Well, we sat down to dinner at 7. Linda had outdone herself. The lasagna was perfect. The salad fresh. The bread warm. A last meal worthy of the occasion. This is delicious, Rachel, Dr. Martinez said. Thank you. It's a family recipe. Your family must be excellent cooks. They were. Both my parents are gone now. Both murdered by you, I thought. I'm sorry for your loss, Dr. Martinez said. It was a long time ago. I've made a new family now. A family of victims. During the main course, Linda excused herself. Just need to check on dessert, she said. But I knew what she was really doing. Preparing my after-dinner tea. Adding her poison cocktail. Planning my death while our guests ate her food. She returned with a smile. Everything's ready for later. Wonderful, I said. I'm looking forward to it. The conversation flowed around the table. Normal dinner party talk, work, weather, local news. While a killer plotted murder in plain sight. Rachel, Mrs. Johnson said, where did you grow up? Oregon, small town, you wouldn't know it. Try me. I'm from Oregon originally. Linda's smile faltered. Really? What part? Salem. But I know most of the small towns. Mine was very small, hardly on any maps. What was it called? Millerville. Mrs. Johnson frowned. I don't think I know that one. Like I said, very small. Ik said the since my own golos. But I could see the panic in Linda's eyes. She was being caught in lies. Simple, stupid lies. I thought you said you were from the coast, Marcus said suddenly. Did I? I meant the valley, near the coast. But Millerville sounds like an inland name. There are 2 Millervilles. I meant the coastal one. More lies, piling up like kindling, ready to burst into flames. After dinner, Linda brought out dessert. Chocolate cake, my supposed favorite. And, of course, my specialty. This looks wonderful, I said, taking the cup she offered. Your favorite blend, with extra honey. Extra poison. I lifted the cup to my lips. Saw Linda lean forward eagerly. This was it, the moment she'd been planning for months. Actually, I said, setting the cup down, I have something to say first. Oh? I wanted to thank Rachel publicly for all her care, her devotion, her special attention to my health. Linda beamed. That's so sweet, Mom Eleanor. In fact, I've been meaning to ask you, where did you learn so much about herbal teas, about health remedies? Just reading. Research. I want to take good care of you. You've certainly done that, taking care of me every single day. I picked up the cup again, brought it closer to my lips. I'm curious about the ingredients, I said. This blend tastes different lately. Different how? More complex. Like there are additional herbs. Linda's face went pale. I don't know what you mean. I had it tested, I said quietly. The tea, last week. The room went silent, every guest staring. Linda frozen with terror. Tested for what? She whispered. For arsenic, digitalis, and several other compounds that don't belong in chamomile tea. Linda's mask finally slipped. The caring daughter-in-law disappeared. In her place sat a cornered predator. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. I think you do, Linda. My name is Rachel. Your name is Linda Morrison. Rachel Walsh died 10 years ago in Oregon. You stole her identity, just like you've stolen everything else. The room erupted. Gasps from the neighbors. Marcus jumping to his feet. Dr. Martinez reaching for his phone. And Linda Morrison finally showing her true face. Cold. Calculating. Utterly without remorse. Prove it, she said. I intend to. The words hung in the air like poison themselves. Prove it. Linda Morrison sat at my dining room table, surrounded by witnesses, caught red-handed, and still defiant. Marcus, I said gently, sit down. My son looked like he'd been punched. His face was white, his hands shaking. Mom, what are you saying? This is Rachel, my wife. No, sweetheart, it's not. Detective Morrison stepped forward. He'd been standing in the hallway, listening, recording. Linda Morrison, you're under arrest for attempted murder. You can't prove anything, Linda snarled. The sweet voice was gone. In its place was something harsh, cold, deadly. Actually, we can, I said. I nodded to Margaret Fleming. She opened her briefcase, pulled out folders thick with evidence. Medical reports showing systematic poisoning, Margaret said. Lab results identifying 3 different toxins in your tea preparations. Video footage of you administering poison. Financial records showing motive. And, Detective Morrison added, background checks revealing your true identity. Your criminal history. Your previous victims. Linda's eyes darted around the room, looking for escape routes, calculating odds, planning her next move. Marcus, she said suddenly. Her voice became pleading, desperate. Don't listen to them. They're lying. I love you. I love our children. Our children, Marcus repeated slowly. Emma and Sophie. Of course our children. I'm their mother. But if you're not Rachel Walsh, Marcus said, his voice breaking, then who gave birth to my daughters? The question hit Linda like a physical blow. She opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time, she had no lie ready. You're confused. Am I? Marcus stood up, walked to the living room, came back with a framed photo. This is from the hospital. When the twins were born. You're holding them. Yes, because I'm their mother. But this woman, Marcus pointed to the photo, has brown eyes. You have blue eyes. Linda's hand flew to her face, touched her cheek. Contacts, she whispered. For 8 years? Every single day? Dr. Martinez leaned forward. May I see the photo? Marcus handed it over. Dr. Martinez studied it carefully. This woman has different bone structure, different facial features. This isn't the same person. That's impossible, Linda said, but her voice was weak now, uncertain. Where are my daughter's real mother? Marcus asked. His voice was deadly quiet. Linda said nothing. Where is she, Linda? Still silence. Detective Morrison stepped closer. We found Rachel Walsh's body last month, in Oregon. She'd been buried for 10 years. Just like you said. That's not, Linda started. DNA confirmed her identity. Dental records matched. Rachel Walsh died 10 years ago, just like you said. What you didn't mention was that she was pregnant when she died. The room went completely silent. Even the clock on the mantel seemed to stop ticking. Pregnant with twins, Detective Morrison continued. Due date matches Emma and Sophie's birth certificates exactly. Marcus stumbled backward. Caught himself on the wall. You killed their mother. You stole my children. No, Linda said quickly. That's not… I didn't… Where were you 10 years ago, Linda? I asked. When Rachel Walsh was murdered, I was in Oregon. But I didn't kill anyone. Working as a nurse's aide, Detective Morrison said, reading from his notes. In the maternity ward, where Rachel Walsh gave birth to premature twins. You were there, Marcus said, understanding dawning on his face. When my real wife died, you were there. She was dying anyway, Linda said desperately. Complications from the birth. I helped. You helped her die, I said. Then you stole her identity. And her children. I saved those children. They would have gone into foster care. So you kidnapped them, raised them as your own, used them to create a fake identity. Dr. Martinez was examining the photo more closely. Mrs. Whitmore, may I use your magnifying glass? I brought him Harold's old magnifying glass, the one he used for reading fine print. Dr. Martinez studied the hospital photo under the lens. Interesting, he said. This photo has been altered. Digitally manipulated. The face has been changed. What? Marcus grabbed the photo. See the pixelation around the facial features? The slight color differences? Someone replaced the original woman's face with Linda's face. You doctored the photo, Marcus said, to cover up what you did. Linda was sweating now, her perfect composure cracking. I don't know what you're talking about. The real Rachel Walsh had brown hair, Detective Morrison said. Brown eyes, fair skin. The woman in this original photo, before it was altered. But our children have blonde hair, Marcus said. Blue eyes, like Linda. Like their father, I said gently. Marcus, you have blue eyes, blonde hair. The genetics work perfectly. You mean… Rachel Walsh was pregnant with your children when Linda killed her. Linda stole them, raised them, pretended to be their mother. Marcus sank into his chair. His world was crumbling around him. His wife was a killer. His children were kidnapped victims. His entire life was built on lies. Why? He whispered. Why would you do this? Linda's facade finally shattered completely. The mask came off. What emerged was something horrible. Cold. Without humanity. Because I could, she said simply. Because it was easy. Because men like you are stupid. The brutal honesty hit harder than any lie could have. You planned this, Marcus said. All of it. Of course I planned it. I've been planning for years. Researching your family. Your mother's wealth. Your pathetic need for love. Mrs. Henderson gasped. You're evil. I'm practical, Linda snapped. Rich old women die every day. Lonely men remarry. Children adapt. It's business. Business? Marcus stood up, fury replacing shock. Murdering my wife was business? Your wife was going to die anyway. Postpartum complications. I just accelerated the timeline. And our children? Are better off with me than in foster care. You kidnapped them. I saved them. Detective Morrison had heard enough. Linda Morrison, you're under arrest for murder, kidnapping, identity theft, and attempted murder. He began reading her rights, but Linda wasn't listening. She was staring at me, pure hatred in her eyes. You think you've won, she said, but you haven't. You have no idea what you've done. I've saved my family. Have you? What happens to those children now, when they learn their whole life is a lie, when they discover their mother is a killer? The cruelty of it hit me. Emma and Sophie. Innocent babies. They'd been victims from birth, stolen from their real mother, raised by a murderer. Now their world was about to explode. What happens to your precious son? Linda continued. When he realizes he's been living with his wife's killer for 8 years? Sleeping next to her? Making love to her? Having children with her? Marcus made us sound like a wounded animal. You think you've saved your family? Linda laughed. You've destroyed it. That's enough, Dr. Martinez said firmly. Is it? Wait until those children start asking questions. Wait until they realize their grandmother sent their mother to prison. Wait until they understand what family loyalty really means. Get her out of here, I said to Detective Morrison. Wait, Linda said. I have something else to tell you, about your son's financial troubles. Don't, Marcus said. Those debts aren't from bad investments. They're from blackmail. Everyone turned to stare at Marcus. His face went completely white. What blackmail? I asked. Tell them, Marcus. Tell them about the missing money from your audit. Tell them who really stole it. Shut up, Marcus said. Tell them about the gambling, the offshore accounts, the embezzlement. That's not true, Marcus said. But his voice was weak. Linda smiled. Check his computer, his browser history. You'll find poker sites, sports betting, casino accounts. Marcus, I said quietly, is this true? I can explain. He's stolen over $300,000 from his accounting firm, Linda said. I have the evidence. Bank records, transaction histories, everything. Detective Morrison was taking notes. Mr. Whitmore, is this accurate? Marcus collapsed into his chair, put his head in his hands. Yes. The word was barely a whisper. Why? I asked. The debt was so overwhelming I couldn't see any other way out. I thought if I could just win it back. But you lost more. Every time. It became an addiction. I couldn't stop. Linda was enjoying this. Watching my family destroy itself. Tell them about the life insurance policies, Marcus. What life insurance policies? The ones he took out on you and on me. $1 million policies. My blood turned to ice. Marcus? She made me do it, Marcus said desperately. She said it was just financial planning, in case something happened. Something like your mother's mysterious illness? Linda said sweetly. Something like my sudden death in a car accident? You planned to kill him too, I realized. Eventually, after he'd served his purpose, after the gambling addiction destroyed his credibility, after he'd stolen enough money to ruin his reputation. You were setting him up. For suicide, gambling debts, embezzlement charges, insurance fraud, the perfect storm. Marcus would kill himself from shame. I'd inherit everything as the grieving widow. And the children would comfort me, support me, love me, because I'd be all they had left. The scope of her plan was breathtaking. She hadn't just wanted to kill me. She'd wanted to destroy my entire family, leave herself as the sole survivor, the inheritor of everything. You're a monster, Mrs. Johnson said. I'm a businesswoman, Linda replied. This is just another merger and acquisition. Detective Morrison finished handcuffing her. Time to go. Wait, Linda said. Eleanor, aren't you going to drink your tea? Everyone looked at the cup, still sitting where I'd left it. Still full of poison. After all this work, Linda continued, it seems a shame to waste it. You're sick, Dr. Martinez said. I'm efficient. Do you know how long it took to perfect that formula? How many trials? How many test subjects? Test subjects? Detective Morrison stopped walking. Did you think Eleanor was my first attempt? My only victim? Who else? I asked. The nursing home where I worked last year. 3 residents, all wealthy, all alone, all very grateful for my special tea service. Dear God, God had nothing to do with it, just careful planning and patient execution. How many others? Does it matter? They were old, dying anyway. I just helped them along. Detective Morrison was writing furiously. We'll need a full list. I don't think so. That would be telling. You'll tell us everything. In interrogation. Will I? We'll see. They led her toward the door. She turned back one last time. Eleanor, she called. You should know something. About Harold. What about Harold? His heart attack. 5 years ago. Very sudden, very convenient timing. My world stopped. What are you saying? I was working at the hospital then, night shift, cardiac unit. No. He was recovering so well. The doctors were optimistic. Then he had that unexpected setback. You killed my husband? I helped him find peace. And you found a very large insurance settlement. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Pure, white-hot, consuming. You murdered Harold? I made his suffering end, just like I was going to do for you. I lunged forward. Detective Morrison caught me. Held me back. She's lying, he said. She's just trying to hurt you. Am I? Linda smiled. Check the hospital records, the medication logs. You'll find some interesting discrepancies. Get her out of here, I said, before I kill her myself. See? Linda called as they dragged her away. We're more alike than you thought. The door slammed behind her. The house fell silent, except for Marcus's quiet sobbing. Is it true? I asked him. About the gambling? The embezzlement? Yes, he whispered. All of it. How long? 2 years. Maybe 3. Why didn't you tell me? I was ashamed, humiliated. I thought I could fix it myself. With my life insurance money? I never agreed to that. She suggested it, said it was just financial planning. But you knew what she meant. Marcus looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. I knew. God help me, I knew. And I let it happen anyway. The betrayal was complete, not just from Linda, from my own son, the child I'd raised, loved, trusted. He'd been willing to let me die to solve his financial problems. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? I'm sorry for all of it. The gambling, the stealing, the lies. I never wanted you to get hurt. But you were willing to let it happen. I hoped it would never come to that. You hoped I'd die of natural causes before Linda had to kill me? The words hung between us. Sharp, painful, true. Get out, I said quietly. Mom, get out of my house, now. Where will I go? The children? The children will stay here. With me, where they belong. You can't take my children. They're not your children, Marcus, remember? Linda stole them. Their real mother is dead. You have no legal claim to them. But I've raised them. I love them. You were willing to let their grandmother die for money. What kind of love is that? Marcus had no answer. He stood slowly, walked toward the door, stopped. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And you let it. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at my son, the boy I'd carried for 9 months. Nursed through illness, helped with homework, taught to drive, walked down the aisle at his wedding. He'd been willing to sacrifice me for money, to let his wife kill me rather than face his own mistakes. I don't know, I said honestly. I just don't know. After Marcus left, the neighbors departed quietly. Dr. Martinez and his wife offered to stay. I thanked them but declined. I needed to be alone with my thoughts. And with 2 little girls who were about to learn their entire world was built on lies. Aftermarti Paftawuro. Emma and Sophie were upstairs, playing in their room, innocent of everything that had happened below. How do you tell 8-year-old children that their mother is a killer, that their father is a thief, that their whole life has been a fiction? How do you explain that the woman they call mommy murdered their real mother? That they're not who they think they are? That their family is gone? Margaret Fleming was still there, packing up her files. Eleanor, what will you tell them? The truth, eventually, age-appropriately. And until then? I'll protect them, love them, give them stability. The courts will want to place them in foster care, while they sort out the legal issues. Over my dead body. You're 70 years old. Single, the system doesn't usually. The system put them with a killer for 8 years. I think I can do better. Margaret smiled sadly. I'll file the papers tomorrow. Emergency custody. Based on the circumstances. Thank you. Eleanor? What Linda said about Harold. About the hospital. Do you think it's true? I'd been trying not to think about that. Harold's sudden decline. The unexpected complications. The swift final heart attack. I don't know. Maybe. Does it matter now? It might matter to the police. If she killed other patients. Then they'll investigate. But it won't bring Harold back. No, it won't. After Margaret left, I sat in Harold's chair. In his study. Surrounded by his books. His memories. His presence. Io. Had Linda killed him? Had my husband's death been murder too? Another step in her long-term plan to access our wealth? The thought was unbearable. Harold dying alone. In pain. Betrayed by someone he trusted. Someone who was supposed to heal, not harm. I closed my eyes. Tried to feel Harold's presence. To hear his voice. To know what he would want me to do. The answer came clearly. Protect the children. Save what remained of our family. Don't let Linda win. Tomorrow I would start rebuilding. Creating a new life for Emma and Sophie. Giving them love, stability, truth. Pay Sejad. Tonight I would grieve. For Harold. For Marcus. For the family I thought I had. For the innocence that was lost forever. Pay Sejad. But I would not give up. Linda Morrison had destroyed much. But she hadn't destroyed everything. Pustive. The children were alive, safe, free from her influence. Pustive. 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 Pustive that was worth fighting for. Pustive. Pustive worth living for. Pustive were worth everything I had left to give. 6 months later, I stood in a courtroom watching Linda Morrison receive 3 consecutive life sentences. No possibility of parole. The judge's words echoed through the chamber. The defendant has shown a pattern of calculated murder spanning over a decade. She has shown no remorse, no humanity, no possibility of rehabilitation. Linda sat perfectly still. Her lawyer had advised her to show emotion. Fake tears, pretend remorse. She'd refused. Even now she was defiant. Furthermore, the judge continued, the evidence shows premeditated murder of at least 7 victims, identity theft, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. 7 victims. The investigation had uncovered more than we'd imagined. An elderly man in Colorado, 2 nursing home patients in Arizona, a lonely widower in Texas, all killed for their money, all made to look like natural deaths. Until Linda got greedy. Until she targeted a family that fought back. Before sentencing, the judge said, the court will hear victim impact statements. I stood slowly. I'd been preparing this speech for months, every word carefully chosen. Your Honor, I began. Linda Morrison didn't just try to kill me. She murdered my husband. She destroyed my family. She stole 2 innocent children and raised them on lies. Linda turned to look at me. No emotion in her eyes, just cold calculation. Even now she was planning, scheming, looking for angles. But she made one critical mistake, I continued. She underestimated what a grandmother would do to protect her family. The courtroom was silent. Reporters took notes. Emma and Sophie sat in the front row. They understood now, age-appropriately, that the woman they'd called mother was gone, that I was their real family. Harold Whitmore was a good man, I said. He built a business that employed hundreds of people. He supported charities. He loved his family. Linda Morrison murdered him for money she never even got. My son Marcus was a good man too, before Linda's manipulation destroyed him, before she turned him into someone willing to sacrifice his own mother. Marcus was serving 5 years for embezzlement. He'd cooperated fully with authorities, testified against Linda, shown genuine remorse, but actions had consequences. The children Linda stole were robbed of their real mother. Rachel Walsh died giving birth to them. Linda murdered her in cold blood, then raised those babies as trophies of her crime. I looked at Emma and Sophie. They were stronger than anyone imagined, resilient, healing, learning to trust again. But Linda Morrison failed, I said. She failed because she didn't understand what family really means. Not money, not inheritance, not what you can take from people. Family means protecting each other, fighting for each other, never giving up on each other. Linda Morrison is a predator. She chose victims she thought were weak, vulnerable, easy targets. She chose wrong. I sat down. The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge banged his gavel for order. Does the defendant wish to make a statement? He asked. Linda's lawyer shook his head. She'd refused to speak during the entire trial, refused to show any emotion, any remorse, but now she stood. Against her lawyer's advice. Your Honor, she said, I'd like to address Mrs. Whitmore directly. Proceed. Linda turned to face me. For the first time in months, she smiled. Eleanor, she said, you think you've won. But look at what it cost you. The judge warned her to stay on topic. She ignored him. Ma, your son is in prison. Your family is destroyed. Those children will never trust anyone again. You've lost everything that mattered. I saved what mattered, I replied. Did you? Your precious Marcus chose money over your life. Your perfect family was built on lies. Your beloved Harold died alone and afraid. That's enough, the judge said. Is it? She wanted justice. Let her have all of it. Let her live with what she's learned. Security moved toward Linda. She wasn't finished. Those children will grow up knowing their real mother is dead, knowing their father chose money over family, knowing their grandmother destroyed the only parents they ever knew. I gave them the truth, I said. You gave them trauma. Just like I did. We're more alike than you want to admit. Remove the defendant, the judge ordered. As they dragged Linda away, she called back one final time. Enjoy your victory, Eleanor. Enjoy raising children who will never fully trust you, who will always wonder what other lies you're hiding. The doors slammed shut. Linda Morrison was gone forever, but her words lingered. Like poison in the air. 3 years later. Emma and Sophie were 11 now. Bright, beautiful children who had survived more trauma than most adults. They were thriving in ways that amazed everyone. Emma had developed a love for science. Chemistry specifically. I want to understand how things work, she told me. How to tell when something is dangerous. Sophie preferred art therapy. Drawing pictures of her feelings. working through her emotions with colors and shapes. Both girls were in counseling, learning to process their experience, understanding that none of it was their fault. "Grandma Eleanor," Emma said one evening, "do you think our real mom would have loved us?" The question broke my heart every time they asked it. "Oh, sweetheart," I said, "Rachel Walsh fought to bring you into this world. She died trying to give you life. That's the deepest love there is. But we never got to know her." "No, but you carry her inside you. Her strength, her courage, her love." Sophie looked up from her drawing. "Do you think Daddy will ever come home?" Marcus had been released 6 months ago, but he'd moved across the country, started over. He called the girls every week, sent birthday presents, Christmas cards, but he couldn't face them in person. Dopper Senebo live. The guilt was eating him alive. He'd been willing to let me die, his children's grandmother, for money. The shame was unbearable. "Revayan? Maybe someday," I said. "When he's ready. When he's forgiven himself." "Have you forgiven him?" Emma asked. It was a fair question, one I'd been struggling with for 3 years. "I'm working on it," I said honestly. "Forgiveness takes time, but I'll always love him. He's my son." Even though he made bad choices? Especially because he made bad choices. That's when people need love the most. The girls seemed satisfied with that answer. They went back to their homework, their art projects, their normal 11-year-old lives. Bauti. I watched them and marveled at their resilience. Children were amazing creatures. They could survive almost anything with enough love and support. Linda had been wrong about one thing. The girls didn't distrust me, they clung to me, found safety in my presence, learned that real love meant protection, not manipulation. We'd built new traditions, new memories, new ways of being a family. By Bawel Plain, every afternoon at 3 p.m. we had tea together. Real tea. Safe tea. Earl Grey or chamomile or whatever they wanted. No secrets. No lies. No poison. Bildahi. Just love. Bildahi. 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 5 years later. The doorbell rang on a sunny Tuesday morning. I wasn't expecting anyone. Margaret Fleming was in court. Dr. Martinez was retired. The neighbors usually called first. Non-biking. I opened the door to find a young man, maybe 25. Tall, dark hair, nervous expression. "Mrs. Whitmore, my name is David Walsh. I think you knew my sister." My heart stopped. "Rachel?" "Yes, ma'am. I've been looking for her for 15 years. The police finally told me what happened." I invited him in, made coffee, called the girls down from their rooms. "Emma. Sophie, I'd like you to meet your uncle." The girls stared at him, then at each other, then at me. "Our mom had a brother?" Sophie asked. "Your mother had a whole family," David said gently. "Parents who loved her, siblings who missed her. We never stopped looking." He showed them photos. Rachel as a child, a teenager, a young woman. The resemblance was unmistakable. Emma had Rachel's eyes. Sophie had her smile. "She talked about you," David said, "before she died. She was so excited to be a mother." "What did she say?" Emma asked. "That she couldn't wait to teach you things, to watch you grow up, to be the best mom she could be." The girls hung on every word, learning about the mother they'd never known, the family they'd been stolen from. "We'd like to be part of your lives," David said. "If that's okay. If Eleanor thinks it's appropriate." I looked at the girls. They were practically vibrating with excitement. Family. Real family. People who shared their mother's blood. "Of course," I said. "Family is always welcome here." 7 years later, Emma graduated valedictorian of her high school class. Sophie was accepted to art school with a full scholarship. Both girls were strong, confident young women who had overcome everything life threw at them. The Walsh family had become part of our lives. Uncle David, grandparents, cousins, a whole extended family that loved the girls for who they were. Marcus finally came home for Emma's graduation. He'd gotten sober, found therapy, made amends where he could. "Mom," he said that night, "I know I can never undo what I did. But I want you to know something." "What's that?" "You saved us all, not just from Linda, but from ourselves, from our worst impulses. You saved yourself, Marcus. I just refuse to give up on you. I don't deserve forgiveness. None of us deserve it. That's what makes it grace." We sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Two old people who had survived more than most families endure. The Aans. "The girls are remarkable," Marcus said. "They get that from their mother, their real mother. And from their grandmother, their real grandmother." That night I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. Prison postmark. "Eleanor, I've been watching the news. Your granddaughters are impressive young women. You've done well with them. They get thas fiden. I want you to know something. Harold didn't suffer. When I helped him pass, it was quick, peaceful. He wasn't afraid. I thought you should know that. L. I read the letter twice, then I burned it in the fireplace. Some truths were too painful to keep, but some were too important to forget. Harold's death hadn't been natural, but Linda was right about one thing. He hadn't suffered. In her twisted way, she'd given him peace. Tyre Prowl. It didn't forgive what she'd done, but it eased a pain I'd carried for years. Tyre Prowl, 10 years later. I was 80 now. Still sharp. Still independent. Still fighting. Emma had become a forensic scientist. "I help catch people like Linda," she told me. "I make sure they can't hurt families like they hurt ours." Sophie was a therapist, specializing in trauma survivors. "I help people heal from what happened to them," she said, "like you helped us heal." Both girls were married now, to good men who treated them well. They'd learned to trust again, to love without fear. Emma had her first baby last month, a little girl named Rachel. After her mother, the circle of life continuing. Sophie was pregnant too, due in the spring. Great-grandchildren. Harold would have been so proud. Greg-san. The house was different now, lighter, filled with laughter instead of secrets, love instead of lies. I'd kept Harold's study exactly as he'd left it. But I'd redecorated the kitchen, removed every trace of Linda's presence, made it a place of nourishment, not poison. Margaret Fleming retired but still visited monthly. "You know," she said one day, "I've never seen a family recover from trauma the way yours did." "We had advantages," I said. "Money for therapy, time to heal, love to sustain us. You had more than that. You had you." I had Harold, even after he was gone, his strength, his values, his love, and your own strength, don't forget that. I thought about Linda's final words in court, about the cost of victory, the price of truth. She'd been wrong about almost everything, but not about the pain. Rebuilding a family was hard work. Healing took time. Trust had to be earned back slowly. Fepaf though. But it was worth it. Every sleepless night. Every difficult conversation. Every moment of doubt. Saya. Because family wasn't about blood. Or money. Or inheritance. Saya, family was about showing up. Fighting for each other. Never giving up. As I write this, I'm sitting in Harold's chair. In his study. Surrounded by photos of our life together. Our children. Our grandchildren. Our legacy. Linda Morrison is still in prison. She'll die there. Alone. Forgotten by everyone except her victims' families. Marcus visits every few months. He's remarried. A kind woman who helps him be better than he was. They have a son together. A fresh start. Hotai everizim machan. The girls call me every day, visit every weekend, include me in every major decision. Not out of obligation, but out of love. Hey bull, I survived Linda's poison. But more than that, I defeated her real weapon. Her lies. Her manipulation. Her attempt to destroy our family bonds. That's liksom. She thought family was weakness, something to exploit, something to profit from. That's liksom to profit from. That's She was wrong. That's That's Family is strength. The kind that survives anything, conquers everything, endures forever. Firmafeel. Harold used to say that the best revenge is a life well lived. He was right. Linda took months from my life, years from Harold's. But she didn't take what mattered most. Love. Truth. The bonds that make us human. Huntar. In the end, that's all that matters. Not money, not revenge, not even justice. Quado bir treshen gaueli. Just love. Nude. The kind that fights poison with truth. Lies with loyalty. Betrayal with forgiveness. Nude. Mude lili. Nude lili. Betrayal with forgiveness. Nude. Nude liwili. Nude. Mude lili. Nude liwili wili. Batude lili. From the Millbrook County Gazette, Obituary Section. Eleanor Whitmore, 85, passed peacefully in her sleep on Tuesday, surrounded by her loving family. She is survived by her son Marcus, granddaughters Emma and Sophie, and 4 great-grandchildren. Mrs. Whitmore was known for her business acumen, charitable giving, and fierce devotion to family. She survived an attempted murder by her daughter-in-law in 2023, which led to the conviction of serial killer Linda Morrison. In lieu of flowers, the family requests donations to the Rachel Walsh Foundation for Crime Victims, established by Mrs. Whitmore to help families affected by identity theft and fraud. Services will be held Saturday at St. Mary's Cathedral. In accordance with Mrs. Whitmore's wishes, afternoon tea will be served at the reception. All are welcome. As Mrs. Whitmore often said, family isn't about what you inherit. It's about what you leave behind. She left behind a family that loved her, protected her, and learned from her that the strongest poison is lies, and the strongest antidote is truth. Eleanor Whitmore won. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.